We're in Module 5 in the novice problems. We're going to do problem number 3 now. Problem number 3 is a chance to use more of the capabilities of Excel Miner, in particular, creating some interesting graphs. I'm going to go to our solutions in Excel Miner, and I will recreate the solutions from what we have here. In this problem, we're looking at credit approval information, and we have somewhere in the vicinity of 60 or so records. Let's see if we can count them. 50 records, okay? And what the data consists of is demographic information, homeowner, a credit score, years of credit history, revolving balance, in their credit cards probably, revolving utilization, how much of their debt capacity they're using. So this person using 25, this one's using up to 70, so they're getting close to the edge. A decision whether or not they're approved for credit, whether they're a homeowner, and whether the decision, we're going to convert this decision, approve and reject, into a numerical value by using, again, our if or our table lookup, because we need numbers when we do graphs. Text information is obviously very useful, but it doesn't plot well on a graph. So it wants us to consider the data below. It's a combination of a variety of data. It's rational data, rational numbers, which are the numbers in business that we most encounter, and categorical data. We want to perform some analyses on this. The first thing we want to do is convert some categorical values, the homeowner and the decision, into a numerical value. And we will do so by using these particular new columns. Here's a homeowner, yes. Here is the translation into a 1 or a 0. If A25, which is where the y is equal to y, then give me a 1, otherwise give me a 0. So a simple sort of logical if. The same thing here for approve and non-approval or rejection. If F25, this time we're talking about this cell. If F25 is approved, then is approval, then give it a 1, otherwise give it a 0. So that's the data wrangling aspect of what we have to do. Our new data appears here, and now we have some questions that we need to ask. Create a parallel coordinates chart that includes all numerical values except decision number. Also color by decision. All right, you recall when we went to explore and the chart wizard, there was something here that a variety of different charts. One of the charts is something called a parallel coordinates chart, which is an interesting chart that uses various coordinates and maps data through those coordinates. So let's go to next. First of all, let's capture our data. I'm going to go up, grab all our data here. Oops, sorry. Now that I've captured my data, I want to parallel coordinates. I'm going to hit next. What do we want? We want all the numerical values: credit score, years of credit history, revolving balance, revolving utilization. A decision is not a numerical value. We want homeowner number, and that's, I believe, it. We don't want the decision number. So we hit OK. Here's our graph. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on there, but our interest is in looking at this graph in the context of who is approved and who's not approved. So I go up here to the color by, and I color by decision. So approval is blue and gold or yellow is rejection. So what do we see here? We see a lot of the people that are approved had pretty good credit scores, higher credit scores. Here's the lowest credit score, here's the highest credit score. The yellow here, the gold, is those folks that weren't approved. Years of credit history, again, a little bit higher than those who didn't have the credit history, but not too much higher. Revolving balance, it looks like people who got a credit or were given credit tended to have slightly lower sort of credit balance. They're not using their funds as much as others, so they may not get as distressed. Revolving utilization, this is even more pronounced. The revolving utilization being low, in other words, having a good bit of debt capacity related to being approved versus those who did not get it. And then finally, it's pretty obvious that it looks like we've got a very high incidence of home ownership for those that in fact got credit versus those that didn't. So this is very interesting information. If these lines start to bundle up together in certain ways, we can begin to see characteristics of these of the approval. You know, what's important for approval? Well, revolving utilization seems to be very important. Credit score is important. A variety of things are important here. The question is, how important are they? To answer that question, we need a little bit more analysis. Let me get rid of this first. The next question is, says, relate revolving utilization to decision. And the one after that, relate credit score to decision. What do I mean by relate? Well, is there a relationship, and more specifically, a co-relationship between these two variables, revolving utilization and decision, and or credit score and decision? So how do we look to see if variables are correlated? Well, that kind of answers the question, doesn't it? We're going to do correlation analysis. So I'm going to take my data here, and I'm going to bring it down here into a more concentrated format. Here are all of the numerical decisions that we had up here, including decision number, all put together. And the reason I need them together is because I'm going to create a correlation matrix. Here's a correlation matrix that we can see has been created. And the correlation matrix tells us how one variable is correlated to another. In other words, credit score is correlated to credit score perfectly. They're the same. Years of credit are correlated to credit score at about 0.3, positive 0.3. Revolving, let's say, decision and credit score are related about 0.74. So the higher the credit score, the higher the decision number, or, you know, and the two numbers here either is 1 or 0. In the case of revolving utilization, this is also one of our questions, there's a negative correlation. So these are negatively correlated, that the higher the credit utilization, the lower the decision number. That's exactly what you would expect, right? A high decision number means you're going to get approved, and you want a negative correlation in utilization. In other words, you want lower utilization for higher approval. That kind of answers the questions, actually. So let's go back here and see how we answered these questions. Our correlation for revolving utilization and the decision approval was very strong, in spite of the fact that it's negative. They just move in different directions. But that's a very strong correlation. It's almost 100%. That if you have low revolving utilization, you have a high decision number, and there are only two decision numbers. One is higher than 0, and one is approval. Similarly, the higher the credit score, the greater the probability of the decision approval. This is a positive correlation, but not as strong as the correlation with the revolving utilization and approval. So if you had to look at one thing to determine whether someone was approved, the revolving utilization is a stronger relationship than the credit score is to credit approval. All right, that concludes this particular problem 3 in Mod 4.